From inclusive finance to sustainable economies, Africa is building its future. This is The Sound of Progress, a podcast by FSD Africa. This is Financing Africa's Future.
Hi Joy, very nice to see you.
Hi Kaara, good to see you. It's been a while.
No, it's been, the year is gone, half of the year is already done. What have you been up to?
Oh, I've been up to very exciting initiatives. 2025 has been very dynamic in terms of my work, in terms of my contribution to financial sector development for Africa.
I mean, talking about your work, Joy, I've always wanted to ask, what really makes it tick for you? What makes you, wake up in the morning and get excited and look forward towards doing your work?
Oh, 3 words describe my experience at FSD Africa. Awesome, dynamic, and fulfilling. For context, Kaara, I was a regulator previously, and the shift to FSD Africa has been very fulfilling in terms of dynamism. Every other day is different from the other. The kind of stakeholders we deal with are broader, more different. Markets are very contextual, very, just very niche in terms of the work we do. I've also gained a lot of technical capacity, technical depth, getting to explore different areas of financial markets. And that for me is so edifying, and it's growth, really.
No, I totally agree with that, Joy. Looking at deeper the work you do, one of it is supporting gender bonds. And I wanted to ask you, what are gender bonds and why are we doing them?
Simply put, gender bonds are a subset of thematic bonds. And what we mean by gender bonds is all the proceeds that are generated from the issuance of such bonds are directed to gender financing and women economic empowerment, specifically to, women-led businesses, SMEs, and such. So they are very specific in terms of, they are earmarked. This is what needs to be done with these proceeds.
FSD Africa has been in this space now for quite some time. Would you help us understand the number of, I don't know how many gender bonds have we been able to support and what sort of amount of capital they've been able to help mobilize?
So far, Kaara, we've supported 2 gender bonds. The first one was in 2021 in Morocco. This was issued by a microfinance institution, Banque Centrale Populaire, BCP, and the proceeds were on lent to women SMEs. This was a privately listed bond, did very well. And just for context, this first issuance came as a result of a lot of background work that had been done with the regulator in Morocco to set and make sure that we have the requisite policies and regulatory frameworks to support an issuance such as a gender bond. Then shortly thereafter, in February of 2022, we saw NMB come to market with their Jasiri bond, which did amazingly well, Kaara. This bond was 197% oversubscribed. And what was interesting for me was previously Tanzania was deemed to be a smaller capital markets from a thematic point of view, but we had such a good performance. We had 99% of investors being retail with only one anchor investor. And the bond was able to raise about $30 million USD equivalent in local currency. It's such a demonstration transaction for the continent.
Wow, very well done. Let's speak a bit about impact. Where are these funds are being invested? If you look at the grassroots, and what sort of impact are they helping to create down there?
The impact is humongous. And why I say that is, as of 2020, pre-pandemic gender financing gap for Africa stood at a staggering $42 billion. That is 5 years ago, Kaara. At this point, I can guess that number is doubled or even tripled, seeing the increasing activities by women SMEs in the continent. And the activities, women SMEs are really the backbone of the real sector development in this continent. In terms of impact, we see these proceeds being channeled into sectors such as agriculture, trade and investment activities, which actually have quite a huge number of women participants and women SMEs.
Gender bonds seem to be driving the needle as far as financial inclusion is concerned. How do we scale up? How do we ensure that there are more issuances right across the continent?
There's still an opportunity to further deepen the technical capacity of our potential issuers. And here I mean financial institutions, SMEs, project developers who have a gender financing angle and mandate. There's an opportunity to keep deepening that technical capacity. so that they get to understand the process end to end. What opportunities are there in the capital markets for them to raise very specific financing for their activities? But also, we will keep engaging and collaborating with key stakeholders in our capital markets ecosystems, namely the regulators, who are very keen and important in creating an enabling issuance environment. And this is through development of regulatory frameworks, which are very, very key in the process. I think the last category that I cannot leave out in this whole gender financing is our institutional investors and the opportunities again that are there. So just building bringing everyone together on the table, but also building their capacity and for them to understand the end-to-end issuance process is very key. And it's on that premise that FSD, in collaboration with other like-minded partners, namely British International Investments, FSD Network, published a Gender Bonds Toolkit last year, which is a reference document basically explaining the how. How do we go about it?
Gender bonds have been quite instrumental in driving financial inclusion across Africa, but we still see that, agree that the situation is still far from where we'd love it to be, and there is far much more progress required. I'm wondering what else could be done to even enhance our financial inclusion even more.
Agreed, Kaara. Commendable steps have been taken by various partners in the continent in the last 3 or 4 decades to bridge this gap, but more needs to be done. One, at a macro level, we need to still involve and encourage our governments and policymakers to include gender metrics in their policy work, in their economic planning, and just the way we fund and finance our economy at large. We cannot leave out the gender aspects, even as we think about our macro level strategic planning and advancement. But also we cannot give up on building the capacity. I think information is power, knowledge is power. Data is coming up as a big deal in terms of showing the case for gender financing, showing the case for women economic empowerment.
Thanks so much, Joy. How does the future look like for gender bonds and other thematic instruments that we are supporting?
The future is bright, Kaara. I feel like it's shining bright like a diamond, quite literally, stealing the lyrics from one of my favorite musicians. But that said, from an FSD Africa perspective, we provide technical assistance, and currently we're engaging several potential issuers across the continent, ranging from main economies, big economies, to fragile economies who are keen to leverage and tap into the thematic bonds pot to advance their gender economic empowerment plans. So it's looking good. I'm really excited to see what the end of the year will look like in terms of the issuances. And yeah, let's keep the ball rolling.
Well done. Any closing thoughts?
Kaara, it's time for Africa, where we are at macroeconomically, our positioning geopolitically, but also our population dynamics. This is an opportunity for us to fuel real sector development and leverage on our local capital markets, our local financial markets to power our own homegrown growth.
Thank you very much, Joy, and all the best in that work.
Thank you so much, Kaara.